Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Red for Anfield Index. It is Saturday, the 21st of June. Normally, around this time, ladies and gents, we're used to it being quite quiet, scratching around, not too much going on. But this summer just seems to have woken up everything. And not just yesterday, but from the last few weeks, or maybe a month or so ago, it's just crazy. And there's more things to follow. You know, yesterday was brilliant. We'll get into all the things around that. We'll get into all the things that are coming up in the near future as well. But we're here to talk about the headlines today on Saturday, the 21st of June. I'm Dave Davis, coming to you from a muggy Edinburgh. You know, where it's got like that heat, but it's annoying that it's hot, but the sun isn't out, so you can't tan. And, you know, jungle style heat, as I call it. But hopefully it's nicer wherever you are in the world. But let's get into it, people. What is the Liverpool latest? Got to start with Florian Friday, wasn't it? And it was funny, Florian Friday, when you rewind back to yesterday, that all your major journalists were breaking that medical pass. I even saw there was people freaking out about that, saying, don't be another Fekir Friday. This is going to go wrong. But maybe we just got PTSD from everything that's happened transfer-wise over the years. But time came along, and about 11 o'clock, we had various journos saying, medical done, all sorted, no issue at all. And then everyone was waiting for it. And we had Lewis Steele on Media Matters who was saying, yeah, just keep an eye out. It could be sort of later this afternoon, maybe early evening time. And that passed. And 3 o'clock, people used to start tweeting, didn't they? Where is it? When's it going to happen? Same happened at 4. One tweet I saw at 5 p.m. actually made me laugh out loud, I've got to be honest, as people did a kind of, what's going on? What's happening? And then 6 o'clock, we got it, didn't we? 6 o'clock, we got the announcement that pretty much broke the internet. And as is on the screen there, there's various headlines, various news, but we got to focus on Florian Friday. And if ever you wondered just how big the Reds are, if anyone even tries to doubt it, look at that tweet, the actual official one. It was 7, actually. Sorry, wasn't it? Not 6 p.m., 7 p.m. UK time yesterday. Look at this. And I've not even refreshed it since I loaded it a short while ago. But over 10 million people have seen that tweet. That's and what that's been out, what? Just over 12 hours or so. If you ever wondered just how big the Reds are, there is your answer, ladies and gents. And with his interview, with the various things that are coming out, the one thing I would take from all this is 2 sort of things for me. Florian Wirtz, and it's important to say Wirtz, as a few have emphasised from the German side, is a serious, focused young man. Not in a bad way, seems to very much have that elite mentality. And the second thing, a bit like the Frimpong announcement, which I don't see as a bad thing, there's an understated element, because I saw people saying, and I get it, how are they going to do it? What's the announcement going to be? And we love all that stuff, don't get me wrong. But the way he's come in, there's almost an understated but a serious element. And that is almost how it feels the club is being run. It's serious, it's focused, and it's an elite-run club, but there's an understated element. It's not loud, it's not braggadocious the way he came in. And that is the way I would really sum it up from yesterday. Now, if like me, I mean, I've read it through twice, this is brilliant. The Q&A on the official website they put out, and I mean, look at that headline. I feel very happy and proud. Liverpool is the place I want to be. I genuinely can't remember, and people will correct me or maybe give me an insight as to when the last time something like this happens. But as various reports and others have alluded to, Florian Wirtz has turned down City, Bayern Munich. Also, as a few reports had that Real Madrid had made a late inquiry, but mind already set on joining us. I mean, whatever you think of them, those are 3 European juggernauts, aren't they? And we've picked them to Florian Wirtz. He's chosen us. I cannot for the life of me remember a time where an elite talent like this plumped for us ahead of all others. Maybe there's a few comments coming in the chat panel. Someone can give me the last time, but it is a sensational interview, and I really would implore you, may well have done already, watch the video, read the transcript, however you want to do it. But there's a few things I really wanted to call out from this. And there's the natural bits, which are brilliant, where he talks about the right time, leaving Germany. So got that wildness, that mentality. And yeah, I see Ali's PS there just saying Torres. The only thing I always think about Torres is a lot of clubs had passed on him at that point. People forget that United had passed on the opportunity. Chelsea had actually passed on the opportunity first time around before he went there, of course. But yeah, this one where they were all in at the same time. Fascinating. Mentions his family as well. But honestly, there is so much to like about this. But there's one real bit I just can't emphasize or just suggest you read enough. I mean, there's some brilliant things on Frimpong and the adventure. This is it for me. If ever you wanted sort of a line, a quote to bring his mentality to life, he's asked, what is it you're hoping to achieve here at Liverpool over the course of your contract? What would you like to do at this club? I would like to win everything every year. First of all, we have to do our work. I have to make my work. In the end, we want to be successful. Last season, they won the Premier League. So my goal is for sure to win it again and also to go further in the Champions League. I'm really ambitious. Close your eyes. You could almost imagine Mo Salah talking there, couldn't you? That is, for me, an elite mentality, ambition, realizes what we did last year. I want to do it again. I want to help put that marker down. And I want to go further, realizes where we got to in the Champions League, wants to go further in that. You know, this is a guy coming in, even at 22 years old, who's already thinking about, how am I going to make this leap? How am I going to make this team better? What can I win? That is where the club is right now. Honestly, we are at a pinnacle for so many years. We are serious. We are elite. But the way we're doing things as well, I said, it's not loud. It's not braggadocious. There's an understated elegance to the way we're doing it. And I absolutely love it. And as well as reading it, which you can...
I just thought...
Let me rewind that for you, because we just got a few clips. We just wanted to show you. And let's listen to a guy whose English is super. I wanted to come to a top 3 club in the world. I love that. I absolutely love that. I mean, we could debate that all day long, couldn't we? Been thinking about this for a while, as a few people have commented, a few journos have suggested in their article. Is it funny? You could debate who the top 3 is. You'd have to have PSG in there right now, wouldn't you? They've just won the Champions League, a young, youthful side. A lot of people will probably have Barcelona. Some might Real Madrid historically, although it's not been a good season for them. So you can argue they're out the rankings. But whichever way you chop it, Florian Wirtz puts us in the mix. Yeah, this is an elite guy who wanted to go to a top 3 club. This is an elite guy that wants, as he talks about, winning everything. This is a guy who's thinking already, Premier League again, Champions League even further. I want to win, and I want to win now. Honestly, there's so much to love. I can't implore you enough to watch it, read it, all those different bits. And then the other thing, which I'll put on as well, that if you come into a new club, always good to have some mates around, isn't it? Help you settle in when you're coming from a different culture, different country. Jeremy's got something to say in this.
And him again.
I mean, I don't even know, ladies and gents. I've got to be honest. Will Frimpong be a starter? But I love the fact that Frimpong's already in his mates here, or probably obviously had an awareness of it, like straight away. What I'm actually thinking more as a positive, more than anything, is he will help Florian Wirtz settle. He just will, because his mate, someone in the dressing room, quite clearly is best pal in that Leverkusen dressing room as well. So that is going to be a massive positive there. There's just so many things to like about this one. And a shout out to Bayer Leverkusen, because we're doing a lot of business with them at the moment, aren't we? I mean, by the end of this window, it's set to be 3 players involved, isn't there? Wirtz, Frimpong, and one of our centre halves, which we'll come on to shortly. But I think you should always recognise certain things. I don't know if anyone saw this, but their sporting director, I might be butchering his name, Simon Rofflers, I think it's pronounced, actually put a letter out to him, and it went on LinkedIn as well, just writing to him about his family and how loved he is. Let's just be clear, that doesn't always happen. There's a touch of class to this, no two ways about it. And just a little line from it, you may well have seen it already, but I wish you all the best at Liverpool Football Club. I know you will make your way there, and I hope you will win many matches and titles. Maybe not when we face each other. We know, and I'll jump ahead, we know each other for many years, and the trust and bond between us is strong and unusual in the football business. You will all stay a part of the Bayer 04 family. Just you ignore those things. It doesn't happen too often in football, let's be honest, but a real touch of class by Leverkusen as well. There's so much just to like around this transfer. And we always talk about stats as we do on this show at any time at Anfield Index. So just a little piece from an article around numbers. And I know we've talked many times about Florian Wirtz's numbers, but you can't not like this, not love this. Look at this quote. Since the start of the 23-24 season, when Wirtz helped Leverkusen win the Bundesliga and German Cup under Xabi Alonso, that famous line, only Mo Salah, his new Liverpool teammate with 28, has more assists in Europe's big leagues than him, and he's on 23. Only Mo Salah sits above Florian Wirtz right now in terms of those assists. It also says in the same period, you can see there, he's top for expected assists from open play, ahead of Yamal there as well. He's 4th for completed dribbles behind Yamal, Doku, and we all know what Doku's dribbles lead to or don't. Kudus, and ranks 14th for goals and assists. I mean, honestly, even this bit, 6 for goal involvements following a carry, which is defined as any movement of the ball, as the up boys have told us, as Bart says many a time on transfer market metrics, greater than 5 meters from when they received it, in the company of Salah, Vinicius Jr., Mbappe, Xavi Simons, and Rafael Leao. If you had any doubt, we are purchasing an elite forward who was Bundesliga Player of the Season last season and the year before. He's only just 22, 16 goals, 13 assists, 29 goal contributions across the 2 biggest competitions he can play in, the Bundesliga and Champions League. It's just elite, ladies and gents. We should be so excited. I mean, I don't know about you. Officially, the new season does not start until the 1st of July, but I'm buzzing for it already. You, no doubt you'll watch it, you'll read it, but all the Wirtz content you can get hold of. And the final thing to shout out, as a few have done, it's a great photo of that, isn't it? How times change, how a year makes a difference in football, as they say. As that Romano tweet there, Florian Wirtz with Richard Hughes as Liverpool director has been crucial to make this deal happen. It's so important to say that you think how things have changed in terms of perception now for Richard Hughes, but he's not the only one on a slot in his first season. And the reason I wanted to leave this bit to last, ladies and gents, is look at the video, look at the quote, watch the videos, however you do it. But look how Florian Wirtz talks about Richard Hughes, Arne Slot and the team. And there's some great bits where he talks about Arne Slot, told him where he'd fit in, how he'd be part of the lineup. And that is ultimately what swayed him. Just a different buzz right now being ahead, isn't it? Florian Friday, the feel-good feeling, all the Fs will just continue for a while. We've got to talk about other sort of stories or other ins and outs or the big headlines doing the round on Anfield Index. If you look at the screen, Joe Gomez, 10 years ahead. I'm going to have to talk about him, quite rightly. Jarell Quansah, looking like he's heading off. So we're going to have to talk about, if we're honest, the centre-half picture right now. And this accelerated in the last week, and you can see it into yesterday, didn't it? That Jarell Quansah's deal is expected to be agreed within the next sort of 48 hours between Leverkusen and Liverpool. Now, again, as per any transfer, the figures are slightly different reporting on the German side as they are to the English side. However, the suggestions are it's around 35 million quid, around that mark. And David Ornstein said the same, around 40 million euros or so, just over that, translating at about 34. So we'll never get an exact from either side, but we're pitching, aren't we, around 34, 35 million. So I think everyone's expecting this to happen. If we're expecting anything straight away, I wouldn't put your eggs in that basket because Jarell Quansah is playing tonight along with Harvey Elliott, potentially, Tyler Morton, potentially as well. For England, isn't it? The England under 21, the Euro under 21 tournament is on. Spain, England, quarterfinal, 8 p.m. tonight. So he's not going anywhere before then, of course, or doing anything before then, Jarell Quansah, and a great chance for the other two to be in the shop window. People are mixed, and I can see it already in the chat panel with this Jarell Quansah move, because he was the next great hope from a centre-back from the Youth Academy. I understand that. He had that season under Klopp, and it has gone backwards a bit, hasn't it? He does seem devoid of confidence under Arne Slot. And I've said this many times on not just Daily Red, but other shows. Arne Slot doesn't fancy this kid. People seem to be ignoring the fact that ever since he was taken off at half-time against Ipswich, he has looked devoid of confidence. He's not really getting minutes. And actually, I said it yesterday, I don't think people picked up on this too much. When Joe Gomez has been fit, and I know that's a big when, he's often been the third choice. Remember that game, Brighton, where we won 2-1? When Konate goes off, we're 1-0 down at half-time. It's Gomez that comes on. And actually, the minutes that Quansah's played across the Premier League and the Champions League, about 725, give or take, roughly. We'll get to Gomez slightly soon, but might surprise you that the difference isn't as stark as you would make. You also think that Jarell Quansah's talked, he's ambitious. He's talked about making that next step. He's not going to make the next step at Liverpool. That's not being derogatory to the kid at all. I think he is a talent. We are an elite team. The standard is ridiculously high to be at us. Just is what it is. So we're all expecting that probably again next week to be completed. Other things to call out. I mean, as this seems to be accelerated. This name's come up in the last 48 hours. Marc Guehi, the Crystal Palace and England centre-half. 1 year left to go on his deal. It is no coincidence that Crystal Palace are talking to Ousmane Diomande as well as a replacement. Now, this is interesting, isn't it? Because there's two tough negotiators. Everyone knows Steve Parish at Palace especially is a tough negotiator. And you think back to Spurs had a bid turned down in January, didn't they? 55 million plus 15 million worth of add-ons. They weren't budging then. Price will be, you think, the important point between, because suggestions are Liverpool are looking around the 40 million mark, Palace a lot higher. So can they meet in the middle? Chips on our side of the table with a year left on the deal, as we said. The other point is, what's Guehi being told? Does Guehi want the move to Liverpool? I fully suspect that's the case. However, it is a World Cup year. Liverpool never give guarantees ever. That's not the way we work. But you think he's moving expecting to play or get considerable minutes, at least, it's fair to say. So that really comes into the mix as well. And I think why Liverpool right now have identified Marc Guehi, as well as the price and the opportunity, we always talk about that. Shout out to Ben Boxock on this, because he tweeted this a couple of days ago about progressive passes. So as it says, last season, Marc Guehi averaged more progressive passes, as in 8.64 per 90, than Van Dijk at 8.26 and Konate at 7.53. Now, that's per 90, I get, for people call that one out. It's not doing too much heavy lifting if you look back on the stats. He's won 70.8 of his defensive duels in his Premier League career so far. And I know people will often talk about duels and limitations, but this is a talented player. If you think about his character, he is a leader, he's been captain, he can play multiple positions as well. People forget he has played DM at times, has played fullback as well, so that comes into the mix as well. There's a lot to like about Marc Guehi. He's a threat in the opposition box. That's important to say, because we're not always the best at that. In terms of defensive, high on blocks, 82nd percentile, tackles, 73rd percentile. Aerials, you always take a look at. And this may be where the limitation, I think, comes in for Marc Guehi, because I see people going, he's a great replacement if it is for Konate, which we'll come on to. 54% aerial duel success. That is a fair bit below where you'd want it to be. But successful take-ons, I know we're talking about centre-half, 80th percentile. Progressive passes, 67th percentile. I do think one of the things they're looking at is it's a bit of a trade-off around Guehi. Now, I want to be clear on this. It's Quansah out, Guehi in, which gives you a collection of 4 VVD, Ibu Konate, Marc Guehi, and Joe Gomez. If this is super strong. Now, let me just minimize some of these to get the right bits up for you. So as a 4, that is super strong for me. Important to call that out. I think why Marc Guehi is being looked at predominantly, and we know about Ibu and his contracts and all those types of things. You're thinking, why have I brought Dean Huijsen onto the screen? I think one of the big options was, if we look back to Dean Huijsen last season, he was progressive, wasn't he? I think that's ultimately why he was the first choice before Real Madrid blew everyone out the water. Better in the air, I appreciate, than Guehi. Different type of player, I understand as well. But I do think, as Ben's mentioned there, his progressiveness, as in if he was to play alongside Van Dijk, for instance, he's a variation, isn't he? You can progress the ball from the back better than Konate. Important to say, on record still, as always said, I really want us to renew Konate as well. This, for me, improves the collection of centre-halves. If it's Guehi in, Konate out as well in terms of the first team lineup, that raises a bit too many flags for me, to be honest, because aerial situation then becomes a bit of an issue. Because if you think we're adding Guehi, Wirtz, Frimpong, they're not the strongest in the air. And we are very reliant on, right now, the 2 behemoths at the back, aren't we? In the form of VVD and Konate. So you're sacrificing even more physical elements there. And I don't like that. I think teams would start looking at that. Just my personal opinion on that one. However, maybe the trade-off is, I think, that he is a better passer, probably a better all-round footballer than Hugo Ekitike. Right now, for me, definitively a better centre-half than Jarell Quansah. Obviously, future will tell what ceiling he hits, all those types of things. And at the right price, I don't mind this deal at all. I think it can be a really good, solid addition. But I've got to say again, if it is with people who somehow be thinking for Konate to go out and Guehi to come in, I can't pretend I am a huge fan of that personally. But we'll see how this week unfolds for them. Shout out especially centre-halves and Lewis Steele. Not that he'll play centre-half for us, but he was obviously on Media Matters where he talked through players yesterday and he put his own YouTube video out. And he mentioned, this is, I think, fascinating for me, that as well as Guehi, it's important to say that, just to separate the Marc Guehi thing a little bit, Liverpool are looking at another young centre-half, almost someone that could ideally potentially be the Van Dijk replacement in the future, or a young up-and-comer. And he does mention in his video two, and you can see it there on the strap line, Jarell Hato at Ajax and Castello Luqueba, left-footed at Leipzig. Now, young, so you've got to give him time, potential and all that, but there is a few things to call out. If it is Luqueba, the Liverpool end up plumping for and is a target, will not be cheap at all at Leipzig, just signed, contract till 2029. So they'll be looking to get top dollar for him. Left-footed, a lot to like about him as well in terms of blocks. Also important to mention, his aerial duel success might be better than a lot of people. He's weak in the air, but actually this season, he's at 66.7% aerial duel success, Castello Luqueba. So that is very more in keeping with Liverpool's standard centre-halves they look at and their aerial duels. So important to mention that one. I mean, good for passes attempted, progressive pass, as in 87th percentile, sorry. Progressive passes, 80th percentile, carrier. So he can progress the ball in different ways as well. I do wonder about this one. And the fact Lewis Steele has mentioned him comes into the mix now as well. Has on a very few occasions played left back as well, but a left-sided centre-half is what he does. This one I am really not keen on when it loads at all. And I don't see this one being a factor for Liverpool. Jarell Hato. And if that's loaded for you there, hopefully. The first thing to say about Jarell Hato, on FB Ref, he only has one profile. He doesn't have a centre-back profile anymore. It's just full-back. And speaking to people as we've done around this summer, around the area division, him specifically, the big suggestion is they don't think he's anywhere near ready enough, if he ever will be, to be a centre-back at Premier League level. Never mind going to be this long-term Van Dijk replacement, as suggested by others there as well. Good on the ball is his big strength, and as a defensive left-back, as they say, a lot to like. And we've seen the suggestions from many recently that Van Dijk has raved about him to Arne Slot. He's high on this kid, which is great, but that's very different to being a Liverpool centre-half on what that would entail at the same time. So those were the two names that Lewis mentioned, but question marks in different ways. If I had to plump for one right now, it would be Luqueba, but that is probably for a different show on another day, ladies and gents. This one almost got missed. I don't know, missed, maybe that's too strong, but forgotten about in the midst. The Ornstein bomb hit early doors, didn't it? Liverpool have reached the agreement with Bournemouth to sign Milos Kerkez, deal for 21-year-old left-back worth around 40 million quid. And we're now on to documentation stage. The Hungary international is expected to undergo a medical next week and join from Bournemouth on a 5-year contract. And there's been further suggestions. It'll be Tuesday, so moving in to next week, which is a bit unusual in a way because Hughes, Edwards, etc., like doing their business late in the week on a Friday, especially, we've seen so far. And in the David Ornstein article, he mentions as well, I still like that quote, as a kid, you dream to play at the highest level, win the trophies, and be on the best team, Kerkez said. These are the things that my agent is on, my dad is on. Papa Kerkez, he's a character, we're going to be focusing on at further points, because still, that interview with Serbian TV, we've never really seen anything like it, have we, in all honesty? But yeah, do I like that? I don't know. But Milos Kerkez, by sort of Tuesday, Wednesday next week, will be our left back. And whenever we mention Marc Guehi, Milos Kerkez is coming in to be a starter. I fully expect, touch wood, if everything goes to plan, Milos Kerkez is going to clock up 3,000 or whatever plus minutes. Him and Florian Wirtz, for me, are the guaranteed starters coming into the team. And I know people will jump on that. That's not to be derogatory of Robbo. I think we know what's going to happen there. But yeah, fascinating to see how that interview's done, because he's told us everything almost already, but we'll see. Other news that came out yesterday is still this Federico Chiesa, isn't it? Napoli, but a priority of being a return to Italy. Also at the same time, the Nunez, but does seem that Napoli will put a low offer in. Maybe it's one we'll have to accept. Although we keep hearing, don't we, around Darwin Nunez, Saudi interest, other European clubs. It does feel, again, next week will be important in sales, doesn't it? We talked about Quansah already and other people. Harvey Elliott maybe accelerate if England go out, the under-21s. But Darwin Nunez, Chiesa, you do feel it could be, again, a pivotal week in terms of, can we do some deals to raise funds to do other things? And even this morning, ladies and gents, this was tweeted out this morning, but it was from, I'm sure people see them, the Fabrizio Romano YouTube videos he does. This is actually where I think we end up this summer, personally. This is a gut feeling a little bit. It's not, it's informed to an extent of what we hear on Anfield Index, but just based on where I think it will fall. As it says on the screen, from Fabrizio Romano, Hugo Ekitike is one of the players that Liverpool have on the list. There were contacts in the recent days. Liverpool have been tracking the player and believe it could be a nice opportunity. There's nothing in advance because they wait to understand what's going to happen in terms of transfer fee with Nunez in exit. Now, this is an important line as well. There's a feel in the industry for Frankfurt maybe to drop the price later in the window. Now, that for me is fascinating because a lot of people suggested that just won't be done, that Frankfurt, Marcus Kroescher have been fortified by the Marmouche money in January. They were going to sell for less. But if the player ultimately wants to go, and we've said before on Anfield Index, our info is this player wants Liverpool. But we're waiting on someone else. He's waiting to see what happens on someone else. I do think, though, ultimately, my gut is telling me this is where we end up, which won't excite a lot of people. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, based on the reactions in the chat panel, but it will all be about this guy. As the headline said on the show, Isak next. Just to be clear, cards on the table. There's a lot of journalists on saying on this, and how I feel as well. This is highly unlikely still, for a number of reasons that are clear. Newcastle have got Champions League football. The suggestion is they're not, they're from the PSR element. It's maybe not as bad, if you want to call it that, as many suspect. But there are other factors in the mix. This is clearly, as many reporting, Liverpool's dream signing. This is clearly, if you listen to all your journalists like Lewis Steele, Alex Crook, Fabrizio Romano, etc., no one is ruling this out. That's important to say. This could have just been shut down. There's no chance we get it, and everyone would move on. Also, as we've had at Anfield Index, that Isak wants to move to Liverpool. I don't really think that's that. And I actually like Newcastle clubs. This isn't being derogatory. Just in terms of being as objective as possible, where are you likely to win more trophies? A footballer's career is limited. I'd be surprised if he didn't want to move to Liverpool. As is on the screen there was a few articles out from the Geordie side, which I wanted to recognise as well. Remember how it was no sell, no price or anything? Money came into the mix yesterday. The game's afoot, as they say in Sherlock Holmes. Honestly, this could feel like Richard Hughes has got his spandex on, pouring the water, like doing his entrance. Time to play the game. It's started now, it feels, hasn't it, ladies and gents? That all of a sudden, not for sale any price. Hold on. It'd take well over 150 million just to begin negotiations. Now, that is a little bit of a hands-off to start, but as a few have put here, James Hardy saying there, it only happens if Isak drops a transfer request in, I think. I do have a feeling that could be the case. It will come down to, if there is any chance, and I'm still saying it's highly unlikely, will Isak push for this and how hard? The other thing in the mix right now, it's important to say, is Newcastle are trying to get him to sign a new deal. Yes, he's got 3 years left. And if you look at this article from the Chronicle, which is the Geordie side, saying, and it actually mentions about Mo Salah and his wages and others, that Newcastle have got Isak currently on a deal well below that. And what the suspicion is that Isak's looking for as a top-line forward is well beyond, I wouldn't say their means, maybe that's wrong, but well above their normal level of wages. And I can't say well beyond their means because we know who owns them and how it's funded. That's not trying to be critical. It's just fact, isn't it? This one is fascinating for me. Again, on record, I still think Isak stays at Newcastle. I still think he will be a Newcastle player by the end of this window. I do think it will be Ekitike coming, but the reason this pod, I think, has the subtitle on YouTube, Isak next, that is what Liverpool are trying for. After Florian Wirtz, this is their next big target for the summer. It's an elite target. It's a super high target. It's highly ambitious. Do I think they'll achieve it? Personally, no. And others think, maybe at the time, as Jet Red said, could be Ekitike, maybe a centre-back, and then Adam Wharton. I'd shake hands on that right now, Jet Red. I'll be honest. Still, it was Ekitike and Wharton, and obviously a centre-back comes at brilliant window. Really is. But we're going to have to see what unfolds with Alexander Isak. Maybe, again, it's something we'll get developments on. But the other thing to mention, I mentioned his name only once, it's linked to Darwin Nunez, isn't it? And how that develops at the same time. Just other things to call out as well. The next parts, the next stages, the brilliant these are. I don't really want to give too much away because it'd be like spoiler alerts in a way. But Alisson, my story. There was part 2, I think it was yesterday. Part 3's on the docket for today and the coming days. They are brilliant. It's just an elite player and an elite man as well. You see, like his family, mentality. Also, a little bit he's talked about his sort of religious side and his beliefs. Marc Guehi would fit in well there, wouldn't he? Another, in a best possible way, religious guy. Common interests always help, don't they? And final thing, as we always talk about on Anfield Index, content coming out the wazoo for you, ladies and gents. I mean, look at this. This is insane. Just in the last 24 hours alone, you got Liverpool History Pod, you got the Daily Red for the last Isak updates and other things. Me and Trev, the 3 steps as a transfer show, the Liverpool part, the Premier League, and Europe and wider, which is also insane at the moment. Got the pod with, and I'll probably pronounce his surname wrong, so I'll just stick to the first one. Aaron, Hungarian journalist who came on with Jack and talked all about Kerkez. Pesci, I think it's pronounced, the new goalkeeper, even Zabozlai, so a real worth a watch for insight there. Mr. Lewis Steele, he came on yesterday to talk about potential incomings and outgoings as well. So that is all in the last 24 hours for you. And you know more is going to be coming even next week. Kerkez, outgoings might ramp up. I'll be back tomorrow anyway to talk about even more. We'll see what happens today. But maybe, I'm saying touch wood, I could be wrong. We have been spoiled a bit this week. There's been a lot happening, hasn't there? Let's be honest. Wirtz, Kerkez, Isak mentioned. Outgoings-wise, Gomez, Kerkez, Endo got talked about. Quansah looks live. So it has been a very busy period. I honestly can't remember anything like this in recent times. But I may stand corrected on that. But anyway, we'll see if anything does break today. We'll be back tomorrow. There's plenty for you there on Saturday, the 21st of June. That was another Daily Red